Now Lydia's moment for redemption. That'd be even funner.
The dismount. Even though we've only had our porch for a few days now, we have been absolutely loving it. We have used it probably
Every day?
every day. We did have a few comments questioning how structurally sound this is, so we're gonna kind of go over a few things real quick with y'all.
First thing is we talk about this porch. If y'all can remember, if you've seen the episode, we attached this first truss directly to the house itself. So it is attached mechanically to the house's framing structure. Behind this wall, right here, there is is it 2x10s or 2x12s?
2x10s.
2x10s, standing on their edge to support the wall because we knew we were going to mount this porch to it. This is what this Simpson hanger is attached to, and the bottom of this truss. So from there, the top of the truss is attached to each and every one country living, Cajun country living. So the top of this truss is attached to each and every gable stud, sometimes in two places depending on the length of the gable stud. So this thing is not coming off the house. If that comes off the house is coming with it. Which brings us to the next point. Where are these beams? And yes, we did stack 2x4s. We induced a crown in them. We glued each 2x4 to the next one, and we screwed them every 12 inches, or pretty close to it anyway. They're really, really strong. Laminate beams are made out of the same thing. Of course, I know we did it ourselves, and they weren't pressed. They were pulled together with screws, but they're doing really, really good. And I always wanted to build one of these because I heard you could do it. Why not? We could have stacked 2x12s or 2x10s on their edge, laminated with a piece of plywood to get the right thickness, and then put them up there. And we've done that before. We actually did that inside the house, but we wanted to do this just to see if we could do it. Now, the span between the house and this beam is a little over 9 foot, so it's not a whole lot of room for span, because from the outside of the beam to this point right here is 18 inches. And we have flat plate that's supporting over 12 inches long as well. So it's just not one point of load. You get the weight distributed over, what was it, 13 inches, 14 inches? The trusses that we used are engineered trusses. We purchased these from a company that designed and engineered these, and they are designed for this span without center support. That concludes the overall support structure. With just the frame and the trusses put together, toe-nailed together, any structure, if you don't have it braced, will have flexibility in this direction. I'm saying this direction because we build this direction. But whenever we put the sheeting on, we nailed to every truss every 12 inches. And all of our joints are staggered, which makes it really, really strong because it develops the whole roof structure. So we're attached to the house, the whole roof structure is attached, it's bolted in, it's anchored to the concrete, and there's no chance of racking. I mean, unless you get a tornado, then I don't care if you build it out of metal. So if there still was any question about how strong this thing is, yeah, I'd say it's not going anywhere.
So that means getting into it today, we are going to start cutting up our batten strips for the front of the house. This has to be done before we paint. Obviously, this is something that really needs to be done at some point. I guess we wouldn't have to necessarily do it right now, but since we're already on the roll of the front of the house, why don't we just keep on going while we know one good day of weather.
Yeah, and we can't really do anything else anyway because we're waiting on our metal to come in for the roof. This is something that we can do while we're waiting and still be working on the outside of the house. We're trying to wait until the rain really moves in, and then we're going to shift all of our focus back to the inside of the house because we won't be able to work on the outside of the house anyway. That's a lot of moving. Inside the house, outside the house, inside the house, up, down, sideways, metal.
Even though on the side of the house, whenever we did our video on our batten strips, that was very cut and dry. Everything was the same height. The front of the house is not gonna be like that. So one thing whenever working with this concrete siding, the only downfall that we found is whenever it does get wet, it does tend to get kind of flimsy. So we're just gonna have to take some extra caution whenever we go to put these up, since they have been being stored outside. It is what it is. We can't help that. We're gonna get them swept off and get ready to put up. The moisture content in the air is gonna be too high for quite a while, so we're not gonna be able to paint the house. And I don't know if it's just me, but having this dirt on here would absolutely drive me crazy. I've gotta get it cleaned up just a little bit. There ain't gonna be perfect, but good enough for now. Till we can get the front painted anyway. One of the first things you gotta do, start beating on things with a hammer.
So the reason we're beating all these nails, we're trying to make sure that they're as flush as possible. That way when we put this trim piece on, it'll sit flush with the side and it won't have waves in it over every nail head.
Putting these batten strips up is kind of a puzzle now, because you got to figure out which pieces you need to put on first, which ones need to butt up to which spot, and all those little inches really make a huge difference whenever it comes time to really put the rest of them on.
Okay, so the reason we're putting this piece on is because after we put the window trim in, we have to have something for these batten strips to butt up against to make them all tie in together. And she is she is so right. This is like a puzzle. You have to be thinking 2 steps ahead, because if you're not, when you get to the end of it, you're gonna turn around and look and be like, oh my God, I got a day's worth of work to fix that 2 hours worth of work.
We're getting everything hammered in around the windows now because we decided that's gonna be the next area that we wanna tackle. We already have around the door frame done. So if we can go ahead and get around these windows done, then I think all of our perimeters or things that have, I guess, horizontal lines versus vertical lines will be complete. And then all we gotta go back in is put all those vertical strips.
It's amazing how much different just a little bit of trim can make that look.
Well, and then think about how much better it's gonna look after it's painted too.
A little caulk, a little sand, a little paint, man. I don't know. I don't know why I still get like that when something actually gets trimmed out and halfway finished. It's amazing how good it looks. Makes all your hard work kind of pop, you know?
On to the next.
Let's get it.
now both of these windows are trimmed out. We looked at the weather for tomorrow and it is going to be a 100% chance of rain. So what we decided that we were going to do is clean up for now. We are going to go ahead and get all of our batten strips cut for tomorrow, and then that way we can go ahead and work underneath our porch.
You want to work in the rain?
I mean, I'll work underneath the porch in the rain.
Whenever I used to work construction, the boss would come in there. He'd be like, everybody that's got a rain jacket, go out there and go to work. And all of you that don't have one, follow.
Whenever we built our home, we had to move our pond over a bit in order to build the driveway. We stocked the pond full of fish for days just like this. When the river is too low to get to and we are craving fried fish for supper, we are fortunate that we have a place to fish from right in our front yard. Fish.
Whoa! Wow! Whoa!
You ready?
Whoa! Oh!
Gladly, Ruth. Are you petting the fish?
Push. All right. All right. Yeah, there you go. Pull it. Pull it. Okay, now push it. Watch your little fingers. Watch your little fingers. There we go. So we ended up keeping 8 big bluegill. I mean, there was some hosses. There was some good ones. So we're gonna get the stove ready. I want some fried fish. One thing that I always do whenever I get this outdoor stove set up is I always check it for leaks, because you never know when you move it around, moving those fittings and things, you can develop a leak, and we don't want that. Now what I used to do is use a spray bottle full of soapy water. Well, you spray all your connections, and if they bubble, you have a leak. If it doesn't bubble, obviously you don't have a leak. But what you do end up is with a soapy water mess. What I do now is use the Top Test PT 199. So the first thing, I just turn the gas on, and I turn on the gas detector. And it's really just as simple as that. You can adjust the sensitivity if you want to. You can adjust it from 500 to 1,000 parts per million, or 50 to 500 parts per million, just based on however you want your sensitivity set. So you hold it by the fitting, and it's detecting no leaks so far. No leaks here. Just to show you how sensitive this thing is, let's put it up here by the burner. You can see that it's definitely picking up the gas since I turned the burner on. Now I'm gonna turn the burner off. It's just a handy little tool. Just something else we can put in our tool belt. If y'all would like one of these, they're $19.99. Super cheap, very effective little tool. And best part is you can just order it off Amazon. They'll send it straight to your door. You can find the Amazon link and our code in the description to get 10% off. If you unbox it, there is a carrying case underneath of the packaging. So, don't do like we did and almost throw this away.